Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to the big news. The topic for today's discussion, China's Uyghur camps. Let us try and understand what is this topic all about. China in the 21st century is competing with some of the global powers. One, on the economic front, second, on the military front, third, on the technological front, and fourth, on the manufacturing front. China is known as the manufacturing hub. It also exports multiple products and goods to the global community. This is the positive aspect of China. On the other side, the Chinese government is also facing a lot of criticism. Why? That is because of its authoritarian policy. One of the authoritarian policy that China has committed is that China has been accused of committing crimes against humanity and possibly genocide against the Uyghur population and other mostly Muslim ethnic groups in the northwestern region of Xinjiang. So in this particular article, what are we going to discuss? We will try and understand who are the Uyghurs, where are they present, what are the concerns associated with them, what is that the Chinese government is doing, how is that the global community has reacted to it, what is the position of India and way forward. First up, we have to understand who are these Uyghurs. The Uyghurs are the Turkic speaking Muslims from the Central Asian region. The largest population live in the China's autonomous Xinjiang region in the country's northwest. So where is Xinjiang? It is on the northwestern region of China. They have been practicing Islam for centuries, tracing their religious influence to Karakanid, a Turkic fiefdom that ruled Central Asia from 9th to the 13th century. The Uyghurs are one of a number of persecuted Muslim minorities in Xinjiang, including the other groups such as the Kazakhs, Uzbeks, Tajiks, Greeks as well as the Hui. So what is that we understand? They happen to be one of the groups who are present in the Xinjiang province, and this happens to be one of the worst persecuted groups in China. The Uyghurs speak one of the languages which is closer or similar to the Turkish, and they see themselves culturally and ethnically closer to the Central Asian nations, and they associate themselves more to the Central Asian nations than to the Chinese. It is this particular point which the Chinese believe and it irritates the Chinese. So what do they feel? The Chinese feel that these people are close to the Central Asian nations. They have a different culture. Their culture is totally and in contrast to the Chinese culture, which is why they have stopped trusted these people, and ultimately what have they done? They have seen a mass migration of Han Chinese into the Xinjiang province so that there is dilution of the minority population in this part of the Xinjiang. So because the Uyghurs have a culture which is different than the majority Han Chinese who are present as the majority in China, and because they also feel that this could threaten the Chinese culture, what we have is clashes between the Chinese government as well as the Uyghurs. Now the next question is, where is this Xinjiang? Xinjiang lies in the northwestern part of China, and this happens to be the largest region when it comes to China. So this, like Tibet, is autonomous, meaning they have their own self-powers, self-governance rules and regulations as well. But in spite of having these self-governance rules and regulations similar to that of Tibet, there are large-scale restrictions that are imposed by the central government. Why is the Chinese government controlling this particular region? When we speak about Xinjiang, it is the largest region of China, and this makes up sixth of the country's entire land area. Xinjiang is mostly a desert region, and it also produces a lot of cotton as well. The region is also rich in oil as well, which is why the Chinese government wants to control this particular region. And if you look at the position of Xinjiang, it is close to the Central Asian region and Europe, and Beijing wants this particular region primarily because of the trade link as well. And this region also boasts of some beautiful places which has also attracted international filmmakers in the past. As a result, China considers this particular region important not only from the cultural front but also on the economic front. What is the major concern right now? The major concern is we have the Uyghurs who feel that their culture is totally different. You have the Chinese who basically believe that the Chinese culture is in contrast to this culture which is existing in Xinjiang, and as a result, because there is clash of cultures, because they want to extract the economic advantages, there is clash between the Xinjiang, that is the Uyghurs, as well as the central government. This has resulted in multiple concerns surrounding the Uyghurs in this particular place. So what are the concerns? The major concern happens to be China has made use of armed officers and existence of shoot to kill policy for those trying to escape. As we just discussed, we have the Uyghurs who are present in the Xinjiang province. They have a culture which is in contrast, and the religion that they practice is also Islam. So according to the Chinese, they believe that they have a different culture and religion which is in contrast to the religion and the practices that exist in the mainland China. So what are they doing? They are re-educating them. What are they doing? They are putting them in the concentration camps as well. And what are they trying to do? They are trying to re-educate them, making sure that these people do not follow their own culture and value system. Instead, support and practice the values and ethos that are present in the mainland China. So in case there is a person who's trying to move away from this particular camp, or he tries to run away from this particular camp, not listen to the Chinese authority, in that particular case there is a shoot to kill policy that has been present in this particular part. China has also been accused of targeting Muslim religious figures and banning religious practices in the region, as well as destroying number of mosques as well as tombs. We have the Uyghur activists who say that their culture is under threat and there could be erasure in the near future as well. China has been forcibly mass sterilizing the Uyghur women as well. It also wants to suppress their population. It also wants to suppress their children from their families, and this is to basically make sure that it is an attempt to break the cultural traditions of the group. So on one side they are mass sterilizing, on the other side the children are moved away from their families. They are being taught not their culture but some other culture which is in line with the mainland China. People who have been managed to escape the camps have reported physical, mental and sexual torture, and women have also spoken of mass rape and sexual abuse as well. Besides the ethnicity and cultural dissonance, tensions are also present in this particular area because of the economic factors. As we initially discussed, China's development has lifted cities like Kashgar and Urgmi. Young qualified Han Chinese from the eastern regions have come to Xinjiang, taking the most lucrative jobs, triggering resentment among the indigenous population. What is the issue here? When you consider a particular region, you have people who are born and brought up in that particular region. You also have migrants who come to this particular region. What is happening in Xinjiang here? There are people who are born and brought up in this particular region. They are not getting any of the economic opportunities. They are not getting lucrative jobs. They have no employment means and opportunities, but instead it is snatched away by the people who are coming from the mainland China, who happen to be the Han Chinese, and as a result there is a lot of resentment, hatred against this particular issue as well. These are some of the concerns with respect to what is happening in Xinjiang province with respect to the Uyghurs. What are the allegations against China? How have countries responded? Governments in the West have repeatedly condemned that the treatment of Uyghurs by the Chinese government is not right, and they are violating the human rights when it comes to this particular community. Several countries, including United States of America, United Kingdom, Canada, Netherlands, have accused that China is committing genocide as defined under international convention, where it has the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial or a religious group, because it is constantly disturbing the Uyghurs, because it is not letting them explore their own culture, because it is not letting them allow practice their own religion, which is why all these countries have called the Chinese that they are imposing a genocide in this part, which is Xinjiang province. The UK Parliament declared in 2021 that China was committing a genocide in Xinjiang. A UN Human Rights Committee in 2018 said it had credible reports that China was holding up to 1 million people in counter extremism centers in Xinjiang, and leading human rights groups like Amnesty and Human Rights Watch have published reports accusing China of crimes against humanity. And there are number of people who have been killed. These cases do not come out because you do not have a free press in China as well. Whatever the Chinese government, whatever the Chinese press wants to reveal, only such information is given out. But in fact, number of cases do not even come to the open as well. There, as a result of which, what is happening? There is a large scale migration. People start moving from one place to another. They move out of the country as well, and this has resulted in large scale migration in the Xinjiang province. These happens to be some of the major concerns with respect to the Xinjiang as well as the Uyghur community. Is this issue happening right now, or this also has an historical precedent? We do have the historical precedent as well. Back in the year 1933, an independent East Turkestan was briefly declared by the then majority Uyghurs, but its borders were unsettled and its army was soon defeated by the nationalist Chinese led by Chiang Kai-shek. A second East Turkestan Republic was declared in 1944 with the Soviet backing, but in 1949, China's new communist rulers who had defeated Chiang in the civil war annexed this particular region with the nod of Joseph Stalin, the then Soviet leader, ending the Uyghurs' dream of an independent homeland. Anti-Han and separatist sentiment rose in Xinjiang from the 1990s, and in 2009 about 200 people died in clashes in Xinjiang, which the Chinese blamed on the Uyghurs who wanted their own state. So basically it is not just happening right now. What we also have is a historical precedent where they have been fighting for their own rights, for their own survival, but this is not being acknowledged by China. In fact, China goes on to say this entire region historically was under the control of the Chinese. This is what the Chinese say in every other country as well. You go to the South China Sea, they wake up all of a sudden and they say that we had governed this entire country, so this belongs to us. So they go by the historical facts and they abuse the human rights and do not respect the historical rules order or the present international rules order as well. How are they controlling the people in this part? Xinjiang is now covered by a pervasive network of surveillance, including police, checkpoints, and cameras that scan everything from number plates to individual faces. According to Human Rights Watch, police are also using a mobile application where they monitor these Uyghurs constantly. They also monitor the people's behavior as well, how much electricity they are using, what channels they are using, what is that they are listening to. Everything is being monitored by the police officers. Since 2017, when President Xi Jinping issued an order saying all religions in China should be Chinese in orientation, there have been further crackdowns in this part as well. The Xinjiang police files, which all date from before 2019, shed light on Uyghurs being punished for the alleged crimes that took place years ago. This has resulted in human rights violations. How has China responded to it? China denies all allegations of human rights abuses in Xinjiang. In response to the Xinjiang police files, China's foreign ministry spokesperson told BBC that the documents were the latest example of anti-China voices trying to smear China. They do not acknowledge any human rights violations whatsoever, but instead they say that this is a tool to re-educate inmates in a fight against terrorism. So they assume that the Uyghurs are the extremist organizations. There are few people who run extremist organization in this part, and all that the Chinese believe is that they are fighting this extremist organization, trying to clear their thoughts and ultimately re-educating them. In this backdrop, we have to understand why are some countries not voicing their concern. When it comes to Turkey or Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates, Egypt or Pakistan, they have resisted condemning China for its treatment of the Uyghurs and have accommodated China on a number of issues. That is primarily because China has huge pockets. Because of its growing global power status, China's diplomatic efforts have ensured that most of the countries do not speak about Xinjiang or about the Uyghur community. Financial deals and investments have aided the Chinese government in thwarting any serious criticisms and diplomatic challenges outside the Western world. Now, what is that we have to understand? What is the position of India? When it comes to India, India has remained silent. It has taken a neutral position on China's policy in Xinjiang, and India has maintained silence when it comes to this particular issue. It is in this particular case we have to understand whether India should speak about the Uyghurs and human rights, yes or no. Let's look at arguments which is that yes, India should speak about the Uyghurs when it comes to the Xinjiang region. When it comes to China, China ensured a stalemate at the United Nations on the designation of Masood Azhar as a global terrorist. India was trying to bring Masood Azhar as a global terrorist in the United Nations, but this particular call was blocked by China. China is among the three nations that have come to Pakistan's rescue at the Financial Action Task Force, blocking efforts to blacklist the country for its state support to terrorist outfits in its territory. And even when India diluted Article 370, which is majorly an internal affair of India, they did try to interfere as well, and they supported Pakistan. They wanted to take the Kashmir issue to the United Nations Security Council. What do we understand from this? This was an internal issue of India, but China tried to interfere with the internal affairs of India. So it is in this particular backdrop, India has a firm stand and can take a stand which happens to be about internal affair of China. If China interferes with the internal affairs of India, India will also interfere in an indirect way is one side of argument. But there is another side of argument as well, that we have what is called as the Panchsheel. The Panchsheel goes on to say that we have the mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit, peaceful coexistence. So the third point highlights mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs. Why is India being respected? Because it follows what is called as international rules-based order. Why is China opposed? Because it does not believe in international rules-based order. So we have the advantage, we have the positive image, we have the support of the Western powers. So which is why India should not be interfering with the internal affairs of China. If it does so, there is no difference between India and China. So India should not take a stance with respect to the Uyghurs is another viewpoint. Now the question to you all as part of the assignment is, should India speak for the Uyghurs or not? Please put your answers on the comment section. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this topic. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.